Hello everyone. Internet marketing is an amazing opportunity for so many businesses offline today. This applies whether you're a vet, a retail pharmacy, a private hospital, or any other type of offline business wishing to get people into your premises. Of course, it applies to e-commerce sales and getting more phone calls and email inquiries, whether you're a service business. And so what's the problem? It is complicated, it does take time, and it keeps changing. And so in my over 10 years experience of full-time internet marketing, there is only one solution, and that's called integrated marketing, step by step. Hello, my name's Andrew Edwards. I'm an integrated digital marketing strategist, and in this video you can look over my shoulder as I take you literally through the process that you need to action for your business to get results. So keep watching and let's take a look. There is a problem though. Many business owners are getting ripped off with slick sales pitches and empty promises. Not everyone, there are some good marketing companies out there. However, they don't know what they don't know in terms of the businesses, and it's not their fault. This one principle I will reveal in this video has created raving fans across the world. And this all started for me well over 10 years ago now, trying to learn it all on my own. I had no idea what was good or bad content, and I was convinced by silver-tongued talk of marketers who had no ethics at all. The online situation has only got worse, and after wasting thousands of dollars, I made a very smart decision. I identified the best marketers in the world, of which you can see some of them here, and I invested well over $120,000 to learn what I know today. And it's easy to get big profit returns when you know how. However, the one key principle I discovered makes getting results with clients so much easier than ever before, because business owners are not aware of what's working and marketing companies are playing on business owners' ignorance. Synergize all your marketing and take a combined approach is the solution. It's called the integrated marketing approach. The first step of the integrated marketing approach to get you results is demographics and psychographics. Most people will know demographics from the age where people live, but the psychographics are the emotional triggers that gets inside the heads of your targeted audience to get you the sales or the leads or the people into your offline premises. So let's take a look at some example questions that are part of the demographics and psychographics process that we follow with clients. The first of many questions, I'm only going to show you a few here as examples, are seen on the screen. So first, describe the single biggest solution that your product or service provides. And so it is about eliminating the pain of your target market. So this brings us on to the second question. What's the specific pain or circumstance that your potential customers have? How can you solve it? And how do you actually create that emotional trigger that makes them buy from you? Then pick the top benefits of your product. Maybe the top 3 is the easiest. What is going to make their lives easier? Then, number 4, break down the specific features of your products and then put a separate column for the benefits of each one. And most importantly, from the 5 questions, in my opinion, bearing in mind there are many others that we don't have time to go through, is what is the outcome? What is the experience that your prospective customers are going to feel by using your service or product? Not just the immediate answer to their problems, but what does it then mean in their future life? So step 2 is keyword research. Absolutely critical that you do this before you build your website, even if you're in the middle of building your website, and before you upgrade it, so you understand how the design should meet the expectations of the visitor that is searching on Google today, and also that the keywords must have commercial intent, and you create content specifically to meet that search term that people put into Google every day of the week, potentially. So in this example, you can see Discount Pharmacy Brisbane has 140 searches a month. The competition is low. That is specifically talking about Google AdWords. That's not talking about the left-hand side, commonly known as the organic side of Google. So basically, this is not straightforward. This is not a 5-minute job. And yes, you can and should think of typical phrases initially in brainstorming that applies to your business. However, it does take professional implementation over a number of hours just to get you in a position where you can get highly targeted with your content. Step number 3 in your integrated marketing process is to set up social media. So what do I mean by that? There are many parts to it, including customized graphics, which I'll show you in just a moment, but also most importantly is to set up your content plan. What are you going to create and why will your audience care? So set aside some time to think about 50 different topics. Yes, 50 different topics that applies to your industry, and then break it down into categories, look at the trends in your marketplace and say, okay, what would create interaction on social media? Comments, likes, shares. Yes, it's going to take time, but I promise you, unless you do this and then create social media content consistently, you might as well not do it, even though it's exceptionally useful, very important, and it's a conversation starter. So let's take a look at some graphic examples of what you need to do when you set up your marketing on social media. Here you're looking at a Facebook business page, and so while you've got to set up your content or create ongoing content, the graphics have to portray a very professional impression, and it needs to be customized, and it needs to send out a marketing message targeted to your audience, and it should be very obvious what you do. So you have the customized header, you have the profile photo, then you have the choice of the call to action buttons. Here you're looking at the YouTube business channel, and it's very important that you get people to subscribe to your channel as well as click on the gear icon where they tick a box to receive push notifications, which means that every time you update your videos, they will actually get notified. So it's very, very important. And then of course the customized graphic as well. This is a screenshot from Google+, which has undergone some changes recently, and it's still very positive to use for marketing. Underrated, I think, in my opinion. However, you're seeing how many pharmacy groups, pharmacy individuals are actually still part of Google+. This is what the Google listings for Google My Business looks like today. There are 3 main businesses, and then when you click on the link, you'll see more. However, this is a case of optimization, which is different to Google AdWords, which is the paid advertising, which we'll cover shortly. And it's also different to what you can see here, which is called the organic side of Google. So therefore, how do you optimize? It is a huge subject. It would include adding your business to local directories. It should include optimization, of course, of keywords. It is about the links coming into your site, as well as the optimization, as well as the reviews for your business, which of course are critical. So when you get this right, it can generate a very significant amount of targeted people into your business. So let's take a look at something called Google+ Collections. Google+ Collections, as the name suggests, puts everything together in categories. So it's specifically targeted at photos, but you can also add videos. So in our case, you can see 4 channels that mimics our channel playlist on YouTube, and there's many more to come. So this can really work for you, and Google+ are really getting behind this because it's very visual, very attractive, and very good for your marketing to get your message out. LinkedIn is the most important social media site if you're only targeting B2B, business to business. So you have the opportunity of creating a company page, which we'll look at another time. You're looking at a personal profile page here. The point I just wanted to make is that you can create a customized header that you can see an example of in terms of what we have done. So it just gets the message across very much quicker, and also creates something that tells people exactly what you do as soon as they land on your page. When you're setting up your LinkedIn profile, or even if you already got one, then think very carefully how you can use the top third fold of the page, the real estate space as we call it in internet marketing, to get the message across and include your keywords in terms of search engine optimization. As an example, we've got digital marketing strategists. We've clearly got the target markets that we're looking at, and we've included the number of contacts. Now, this won't necessarily apply to you depending on how many contacts you've got, but if you've got nearly 23,000 contacts, that tends to give a good potential benefit to other targeted prospects for them to connect with you. And also, I've mentioned here that we've got currently 291 videos on our YouTube channel. So that's not to self-promote, that's to show you that you can include some key benefits to get people's interest, as well as the headline, which asks the question in this case. So hopefully people will read below. And then, in our case, and hopefully yours too, you can publish blog posts on Blog Pulse for LinkedIn. And so we are creating a series of videos, and you can see that they will be added here on an ongoing basis. So think about what could work for your business. The real takeaway of this whole presentation is the importance of integrated marketing and connecting online and offline marketing in a step-by-step process, not trying to do everything, but whatever you do extremely well, and invest your time and money wisely and track the return on investment. This was a recent survey that actually asked various businesses their feedback about cross-channel marketing, and as you can see, 67% said it was a top priority for all their marketing activities to be integrated across the channels, and the other percentage understood the importance of the customer journey and marketing funnels, as well as the channel mix. So the shift to digital continues. And so this again was a recent survey that actually showed the priorities of different companies, and not surprisingly, websites are at the top, as well as email, then SEO and social media marketing. TV is still around and will not, in my opinion, die or go away anytime soon. Newspapers, as we know, are in trouble, and they are losing market share to the online world, and of course are transitioning their own offer to try and keep pace with what's happening. Step 4 in the integrated marketing process are lead generation and sales focused websites. Now, these are very different to what a typical web developer creates, that while they normally look pretty, they are not necessarily results focused when it comes to marketing. And I'm talking about psychology, SEO, advanced strategies in terms of Google Analytics, as well as eye tracking studies. So let's take a look at something called a heat map, where people's eyes go when they look on a website. What you're looking at here is a golden triangle heat map from Google from 2006, would you believe? So why is it called the golden triangle? Because then people were actually looking from the top left to the middle and down to the left hand side, and no doubt today it's very, very similar. However, they were looking at the Google results, at the top of the Google results on the right hand side. That's changed, and I'll show you in just a moment. So what's the takeaway here? Think about what the key message is that you can get on your website in this area, because people still read from left to right, and although this might seem obvious, you need to test and measure whether these things are really true. This is the heat map from 2016. It looks a little different because there's no Google results for the advertising on the right hand side anymore. They've put it all on the left, and depending on the commercial intent nature, there will be 3 or 4 adverts. The real key point is this is still where the eyes are going. You should not, though, completely ignore the top right hand side of your website, because again, test and measure for yourself, but many tests have shown that the top right in terms of phone numbers, call to action buttons, are very effective. This is a recent survey from the Chamber of Commerce Queensland, and it shows that 94% of businesses had a website, which is great. Unfortunately, only 55% had a mobile-friendly website, which you would hope will improve year on year. However, only 1 in 10 had a dedicated mobile app. So what's the importance to a local offline business as well as an international business? In this case, this is a survey from Google that shows 50% of consumers visit a store within 1 day of their local search, and 1 in 3 searches take place on a smartphone before visiting a store, as well as 15% of the searches while they're in a store is done on a smartphone. So what I'd like you to do now, assuming you've got your mobile phone switched on of course, is search for Bradbury Pharmacy on Google. Now this is not a personal criticism, it's just my opinion, and if you look for bradburypharmacy.com.au, it should be on the search results, not the paid advertising. You should see a screen like you can see here. So the point to take away is that what do you think about the design? I think it actually looks pretty good from an overall design perspective. The real problem that I have personally is that it's not mobile friendly. We know that because the navigation has not been built for mobile, and of course the text is hard to read, certainly for me, and hopefully they will improve this, I'm sure, as time progresses. If it does have a lot of images, it could well load very slowly as well. So it's really a key point to say, make sure that your website is mobile friendly. So here you can see a breakdown of the demand by specific devices from a keyword. So this is for Pharmacy Brisbane, and so if you need any help with this, please contact us. However, this is really important because it shows the potential demand for your business specifically on a mobile. In this particular case, over 40% of all searches are taking place on a smartphone. So hopefully, if you're a pharmacy in Brisbane or a pharmacy anywhere in the world, you do have at least a responsive site, which means everything fits into a mobile screen, and preferably a customized mobile site, which means there's a lot less content different to a desktop, and it's specifically created for the mobile user experience. Many businesses are very obsessed about getting traffic through to their website. Yes, it's important, it must be targeted. However, we equally like to focus on website conversions. And so I'm going to show you right now 10 major principles of website conversion that we created a very long blog post about. I'm just going to show you the summary points. So let's take a look. This is the blog article that took me nearly 2 weeks to write. It was based on 10 years plus experience. I'm just going to show you the key takeaways here. You can read it later because there's far too much detail to go through in this video. However, the 5 conversion principles that you need to look at when you're creating your website or editing your website, updating your website, first and foremost, is distractions. Are you causing too many distractions that takes away from the main objective of your website? I.e., too many banner images on a page, the slide-in images that so many web developers love. Are you causing confusion in terms of the language? Is it simple or is it complicated? Is it relevant to the conversation that someone's having on Google when they put in the keyword phrase, when they come to your website? Are you showing the number 1 and number 2 benefit of your particular product or service above the fold before the visitor has to scroll? And are you giving them a reason to act quickly? It should not be false scarcity. However, you should give them a reason to act. Otherwise, if they go away, they may not come back unless you do remarketing or capture people's details in terms of a free offer, which I'll mention in just a moment. I'm going to talk about 10 little known website conversion tactics that can really grow your buyers, whether you're an e-commerce store, get more people into your offline premises, whether you're a vet, a retail pharmacy, a private hospital, or any other type of business, or whether you want more phone calls and email inquiries. The first one is, are your priority call to actions in the top third fold of the page, meaning before people have to scroll? What are call to actions? They could be phone numbers, they could be buttons, they could be, in our case, a video play button, or someone described it as a throbbing button. I'm not sure if that's the greatest terminology. However, you must get the point across to your visitors very, very quickly. And don't confuse them, as I've mentioned already. We're not a fan of drop-down navigation. It tends to confuse the eyes, and there's far too many choices. You should only give people 1 or 2 choices. The same with multiple image sliders. It confuses the eye, and even if you have to have them, do you have call to action buttons inside of them? And does your website show authority? This could be logos, this could be videos, or something very similar. And what can you do to attract the eyes of the visitor to the main action you require? That could be an image where someone's looking at the call to action, and therefore from a psychology point of view, you direct the eyes towards the key point that you want them to see. And so does the top third fold of your page show the target market what your product or services are? That kind of sounds strange to ask that question, but many websites are not immediately obvious what they actually do. Finally, in terms of question number 1, how and where can you use your social media sharing and follow buttons? I don't see many websites put in social media buttons on a page where people can't click away, but they can actually follow, because most websites I see, you click on the follow buttons and you immediately go to the social media assets, as I call them. And so what is the point of doing that if you've got them from all your external marketing and you take them immediately off the website? Your website should be the final destination, in my opinion. And so therefore, with sharing buttons, you can place them certainly in a blog post, underneath the blog post, or at least by the side, as you can see here. This just encourages the viewer, if they like the content, of course, to get the message out because they really, really love what you do. And so question number 2 is the bottom of a website page important? Absolutely it is. And you should think very carefully about the information, because online studies have constantly shown that the viewing time increased significantly at the bottom of the page. So think about credibility, think about your contact information. We've already covered question 3 in terms of where do your website visitors' eyes go most of the time on the website, and that's the heat map information that we've just gone through, as you can see here. Version point number 4 is how to grow your potential database. And this is about growing your email marketing database. And so the problem is that 80% of all searches are information seeking and 20% have some kind of commercial intent. You don't know the visitors when they come to your site, and you won't know them unless you find a way to capture their details by giving something so valuable away for free that they would literally pay for in return for getting their first name and email. So what could that be? That's a good question. It can be a very broad topic, and you've got to think about the pains, the frustrations, the challenges, as well as the offer that you have in terms of how you can demonstrate your credibility without giving all of your information away. So this is worth investing time and money on, because it really will be the difference between you building up your audience and not. So conversion point number 5 is, what type of images should you use? Now, this is extremely important to your business, because many tests prove that having images as well as text makes a difference. Now, it's not always the case, because you have to test and measure. However, images should be fun. They should create curiosity. They should create emotion. People buy on emotion, and they support the decision with logic. I'm sure you've heard that many times. And so what can you do to take this to another level? I would suggest creating custom images and not using stock images unless you absolutely have to. Is this easy? No. However, it makes a huge difference to the professionalism of your website and ultimately your results, in my opinion. And so think about the outcome that you want the visitor to visualize when they're looking at your images. What's the experience that you want them to feel after they've got your product or service, or whether they've actually come into your offline premises? What are the first words in your headline of your website? Are they compelling people to read the rest of it? Is it marketing copy, meaning does it create emotion? Does it show the viewer the outcome that they're going to get when they actually read the rest of the content on your website? In our case, we use transform. Transform is a power word in marketing, and while it's not the only word that, of course, that you would use in a headline, it does demonstrate that you've got to start off in a way that gets people's interest. Point number 7 in your website conversion factors is something called split testing. It's rarely used by many companies that we speak to, and yet ultimately it's the only way that you know whether you can improve your results or not. Google Analytics is very powerful and gives you lots of information about what you should potentially split test. The question is, what exactly should you change? Should it be a headline? Should it be an image? Send 50% of the website visitors to one page and 50% of the website visitors to another page. Now, of course, you have to have a certain amount of traffic to make this worthwhile, and you also have to test it for a month to make sure what we call you get 99% confidence level. Ultimately, it can dramatically improve the conversions, whether that means more people into your offline store, more people into your offline premises, more phone calls, more emails, or more e-commerce sales. Conversion point number 8 is how far down the page do your visitors scroll? I think this is really interesting. Just know that you can use software to actually track this, and we can help you. However, the point is, are your readers actually reading all your content? If you have a blog, are they only reading the headline? And are your website visitors actually abandoning your long forms, your contact forms? And if so, at what point? You have to find this out. It could be really hurting your business, while it can really make a big positive impact if you know. And so what are the solutions? Certainly a common theme that I keep talking about is have the main call to actions in the top third fold of the page before people have to scroll down. And then use a professional marketing copywriter, which, as I've said previously, or certainly going to say, it's emotional-based language that creates people's need to contact you, to visit your store, to buy your product, which is not going to be the case with just normal content. So this is a professional copywriter who works every single day of the week on understanding your target market and the psychology of what makes people take actions. And then another example is don't leave lots of white space beneath certain content and make the reader think there's nothing else underneath if it's important that you want them to read it. And create images that perhaps show that you need to scroll down the page. Certainly create text mentioning that, and give them reasons why to actually look at the rest of your content. And ultimately make sure, of course, that your site is designed for mobile and they're not having to scroll from right to left. Conversion point number 9 is which links on your page do your visitors actually click on? This is important because so many web developers seem to create multiple drop-down menus, giving people anywhere up to 30, 40, 50 choices when it should be the opposite. Simplify it. Don't confuse people. A confused mind takes no action. Across the top, you should have never more than 7 navigational points. And this has been proven in eye tracking studies. Apart from that, give people 1 or 2 choices of what you want them to do. You dictate where they go on your website. It's your website. You have to have a strategy. And so the other point is when you have internal pages, strongly consider taking off the navigation, because then you don't take people away from the site. You get them into the headline, as you can see here, and preferably watching a video with a call to action button. This happens to be software that tracks certainly where people's eyes go in terms of video, in terms of heat maps, and in terms of how far down the page people scroll. So contact us if you want help with that. However, the point is that people often click on the logo, even when they're on the home page, which normally takes you back to the home page. So you can waste anywhere from 10, 20, 30% of your clicks to your website just by clicking on a page that they're already there. So if you know this by tracking the clicks, then you can actually redirect them to a more important page that can get you better results. So conversion point number 10 is how fast does your website load? Do you know? Could it increase your sales? Absolutely, if it's loading slowly. What does that actually mean? Google say that your website should load less than 3 seconds. And so therefore, the reason why that might not be happening are numerous. I'm going to cover those in just a moment. However, this is the first thing that we look at when we look at clients' websites. And a recent survey online said that after the first second loads, for every extra second a website loads, you will lose 7% of leads and sales. So this is why this is critical. So the first example of why a website could be loading slowly is the images have not been reduced in size prior to uploading. Secondly, you could be using, very commonly, a shared server. So you're sharing it with lots of other people, and therefore, of course, it's not going to be as fast as a dedicated server. And thirdly, if you're using WordPress, you might be using far too many plugins, and this absolutely slows your site. And yet you won't know unless you actually go into the WordPress admin and then install, ironically, a WordPress plugin to find out how many plugins you've got. There are many other reasons for websites loading slowly. You should know that Google give a score out of 100 for every website, and it is a ranking factor. It's publicly acknowledged by Google, and so therefore you need to know what your website score is. Please contact us to find that out, and we'd be happy to help you. Step 5 is something called on-page optimization. Now there's two parts to SEO, search engine optimization. There's on the website and there's away from the website. So off-page optimization is basically internet marketing, which is what this whole presentation is about. So I'm just going to break down the most essential parts of on-page optimization, what you can control in your website. The first one is the title tag. And so let's take a look exactly what that is when you search on Google. So this is the title tag highlighted here, and it's the same for every website in the world. No, the visitor doesn't see it automatically when they're actually on your website, but certainly when they're searching, this is what it means. And so therefore, while you should include a keyword more often than not in the title tag, it should be something that gets people to click through to your website. So this is an example of what not to do, in my opinion, because it really is just including the name of the actual website. And it's probably creating duplicate content along the way. So you've got to be creative, and you've got to create marketing copy, professional marketing copy that creates emotion to get inside the heads of the visitors and the conversation they're having on Google, so they actually want to read and click through to your website. It's called a click promise. So the second part of this on-page optimization summary is something called the description tag. So again, let's take a look at what that means to you when people search on Google. So here you can see the description tag, and this has approximately 165 characters. So you've got to use it wisely, and what you want to avoid is what you can see here where it's cut off. Because if this was carefully crafted, as it should be, again, with emotional-based marketing copy, then you can really fit the message in very well and still get people to click through. And yes, you probably should include the keyword, but like everything else when it comes to on-page optimization, the main takeaway is that you must understand what the top 3 competitors on Google are doing for the keyword that you're targeting, because if you do too much optimization, there's a very good chance that you'll get penalized by Google. So the third point on the list is internal links. So what does that mean? It means links inside your website on your different pages. So just in case you're not clear, let's take a look at an example. Here you have a vet services website. And so the content is, well, clearly at the top, and then you've got the internal link to take them to another page. Now, why it's green? Probably because the graphic designer thought it was a good idea because it matches the call to action button at the top, etc. This is just an example of conversion testing, which is completely not to do with SEO necessarily. However, it should be a blue underline link, at least in my opinion, and I know Google are currently testing black links. However, the point is this is an internal link, and you have to think very carefully about how you can use a keyword descriptively, very selectively, you should not overdo things. And again, you have to know what your top 3 competitors are doing. The next part of on-page optimization are the alt image tags, which simply means when you put keywords or at least a very good description behind the images. You can see here when you scroll over this image, nothing actually happens. So if the keywords had been added behind the image, you would actually see that. And it is good, certainly from a usability point of view. It's not that important for SEO overall, but certainly this is about user experience for your visitors. H1 tags are nothing complicated. They simply mean the headlines in your website. So let's just take another example of what that means. So here you can see emergency services provided by Vermilion Veterinary Clinic. That could be an H1 tag. So yes, you could include it in your tag in terms of the keyword. However, it won't make a huge difference. Again, it's a case of just understanding what the top 3 competitors are doing. It sounds like a broken record, I know. However, that's the key. Just do a little bit more than the ones that Google already like. And finally, you've got the body text. Now, you could bold some of the keywords depending on the competitive analysis report that we create or whoever you actually use, or you could include the keywords. That's what most web developers talk about. That's what most marketing companies talk about. It is just one of hundreds of factors. However, it can be looked at. If everything was equal, it could make a difference. Step 6 is marketing copy, and I cannot begin to tell you the importance of this. It is something that a professional copywriter works on every day of the week, and you do have to be professionally trained, in my opinion. There is a big difference between content, which is where someone knows what they're talking about and certainly will be useful, and marketing copy that gets in the heads of your potential target market, understands their problems, their pains, explains in great emotional detail what exactly your service or product can actually create in terms of the experience, what's going to affect their future, make them feel better. And that's what marketing copy is all about. It's creating emotion. So let's take a look at some power words in marketing that you could use in your business. So I'm just going to give you some examples of power words, and I give credit to Vertical Response on their blog, the 30 Magic Marketing Words. I'm not going to go through everything, but I think you can get a really good idea of the examples of what you could use in your business, and it's how you actually put these together. You don't just use them always on their own. It's how you put them in headlines and how you actually create a meaningful sentence. So you, not surprisingly, is power word number 1. So many people, including myself sometimes, talks about we, when it's all about the customer. And there's actually, remarkably, a website online that if you put your URL in, it will tell you what percentage that you talk about yourself or your company and not the customer. Then power word number 2 is because. So reasons why is very, very important in internet marketing. And then the most powerful word of all, free. And so, yes, it can be overused, but still today people love that word in many respects. And then you've got value, because it implies that people are getting something beyond the normal. And then guaranteed. Everybody loves a guarantee. Sometimes it's not possible. However, it's been a long-standing power word used in marketing. And then amazing, because it makes it much more interesting, much more compelling. And then easy. People want to know that something's simple and easy. And so discover, while you can again overuse it and you can use other words like learn, it creates curiosity. So it gets people to actually click through to your website sometimes. And then of course scarcity is very important in internet marketing. Not false scarcity, it's got to be true, but you've got to get them to act now. So in your call to action buttons or in your sentences, you've got to find a reason to motivate the audience to actually take action. And then everything included, everything you need. So it really gives the feeling of security that they can achieve the results that they actually want. And then never point out a negative benefit sometimes, because never worry again or never overpay again takes away the pain. And it's not just all about focusing on the pain. It is a combination of focusing on the positive outcome. What is the experience they're going to get, and how is it going to make their future for their business as well as their personal life better? New is very, very important, because it really is genuine in most cases that it can produce a potential new result, and it's innovative. And then save, of course, is very commonly used by many companies. Proven is something that I personally use a lot, sometimes too many times. However, proven is true when you've actually got a track record of creating success. And then save and effective. Proven to minimize the risk perception for health and health and monetary loss. Powerful, again, another word that I use a lot, is to let customers know that your service is solid. It is actually going to last. And then real results, guaranteed results. That's what people care about. They don't want to know most of the time about the technical details or the actual details themselves, unless you're a certain type of personality. And then secret, long used in internet marketing, again, sometimes overused, but it's again a way of creating curiosity, because not everybody knows the tactics and the strategies to be successful online. And then number 19, This implies your solution is the end be all. In other words, it is the number one solution that everybody should listen to or watch. And then instant. People want everything instant nowadays, and therefore that is exactly what you get when you download something, but you've actually got to put that in the call to action buttons. So I'll just scroll through the rest because I think you get the message. Feel free to look at the article on verticalresponse.com and Google it. So how to elite premium calls by more bargain, no obligation, 100% money back guarantee, huge and wealth. I can tell you there's hundreds and hundreds of these type of phrases, and as it says here, you've got to find a way to put them together in a headline. Because if you can actually get real results instantly, 100% money back guarantee, act now, that's exceptionally important to getting people to take action, because it plays on people's genuine emotional triggers. People buy an emotion and they support their decision based on logic. So then you have step number 7, which is Google AdWords, commonly known as pay-per-click. I prefer to use the word invest because as long as you prepare your website first professionally and track it with Google Analytics, then you have a great chance of making money. Many people waste it because they just drive people to their website and they have not targeted the content accordingly. So if you're not familiar with Google AdWords, let me show you exactly what it is. Here you can see the adverts at the top of Google highlighted there with the yellow ads. Many people tell me they don't click on those ads, and yet Google are one of the world's largest companies today because of these ads only. 98.7% of all their income come from when people click on these ads. So someone is, and there's a lot of them. So this can really work for your business, whether you're an offline business and you want more people into your premises, whether you want more phone calls and email inquiries, or whether you're an e-commerce store wanting more sales. So let me show you now the 4 biggest tips that I can tell you after 10 years of full-time internet marketing and managing Google AdWords campaigns for clients that will really get you the best results for your business. So let's take a look at what these strategies are. First, it sounds very obvious, but you've got to be extremely targeted in the way that you reach your audience. It's going to be the difference between you getting more phone calls, more email inquiries, more people into your offline premises, or selling more products. And you must look at the commercially intent nature of the keywords that are being used by people. It's not just a case of putting in the most obvious keyword phrases. You've got to know, are they using a mobile? Are they using a desktop? Are they using a tablet? What does your website look like? What time of the day are they searching? How do you find that out? And the location is obviously critical if you're a local business. I'm going to cover some of this in this video, and we've covered the answers in different videos. So first, when you set up Google AdWords, if you're not familiar with it, you must set up negative keywords with the default method that Google suggests. If you don't, you're going to waste an awful lot of money potentially, because you're going to be found for adverts that you don't want to be found for when people are searching on specific keywords. So you've got to build up a list of keywords that are not relevant to your business. So if you were selling dog beds, you would want to put in cat beds as a negative keyword, assuming that they're not the same thing. So keyword phrases are very, very important, and you must monitor the search term reports, or your Google AdWords company should, and if they don't, you're likely to just be wasting an awful lot of money, as well as potentially making money when it's done professionally. So a location targeting. So it sounds again very obvious. Target only the locations that you look after. It's absolutely possible and not that hard inside Google Analytics and Google AdWords. Local businesses can use local targeting, and I'm going to show you in a moment Google Analytics and how you actually know where people are searching from for your business. And then you bid higher for highly converting locations. So just before I move on to look at tracking conversions, let me show you a Google Analytics breakdown so you can see how you know where to target the location. So here you have a breakdown inside Google Analytics showing different cities inside, excuse me, Australia. And the key points to take away from this is that you can see the most amount of visitors are coming to Sydney, and they've got the most amount of revenue. That's not always the case, but it is here. And then another example of how you would use this is that you can see that Adelaide, in this particular client's case, got a conversion rate of 3.3%. So how would you use that? You would clearly want to increase your bids in terms of your Google AdWords campaign to focus on Adelaide, knowing that it has a higher conversion rate and potentially even more if it got more visitors. The same as Gold Coast and Newcastle. They may not have as many by far as Sydney, but if you are targeting those areas, then 2.61 and 3.26 is clearly a lot more in percentage terms than the number one converting in terms of revenue. So that's how you know what to target in terms of location. So let's take you back to the PowerPoint. Here you have what, in my opinion, is the most important part of your Google AdWords professional management, and it's tracking conversions, including phone calls where possible. And so this is what happens after the customer has clicked on your ad, and you absolutely must know to benefit from a positive return on investment. So it breaks it down into keywords, ads, and campaigns, and you must set up core tracking. And so there's a variety of different ways to do this. It's tracked by a click on a advert. It's also tracked by a dynamic phone number being added to your website, whether it's a mobile website, whether it's a desktop website. There are certain conditions for that to work, but the point is you can and should set that up. So let me take you to a screen summary inside of Google AdWords that just shows you the results. You can see a breakdown of the top conversions for this particular client in the example. It's mobile website, click to calls, that is absolutely winning the conversion opportunities for this client. There are click to calls on the normal desktop website and contact forms in terms of email inquiries. So you do know and can find this information out, and your Google AdWords company, your management company, should be showing you this. Step number 8 is off-page optimization, and I specifically say integrated marketing link building because no longer is SEO only on its own. You have to think social media, blogging, YouTube, content creation, natural links coming back to your website. It is about marketing your site, and that directly influences your rankings on Google. So what I'm going to show you now is a detailed breakdown of what actual links count when Google assess your website. So let's take a look. So what you're looking at here is a summary competitive analysis that shows you the total number of backlinks that are coming into this specific website, the unique active backlinks, in other words, not duplicated, the links to the homepage, because you should not have every link pointing back to the homepage. It should go to internal pages. It's much better practice for search engine optimization, and the number of no-follow links, which in English means that Google don't take account of that when it comes to giving what we call link juice in the internet marketing world. And so it's the link influence score, which you can see here on the top right, that is important. It's about authority, it's about relevance. So the column down the left hand side where it shows LIS, the pink column says it's not authoritative and could be actually hurting you, whereas the 51%, 51%, 31% are better quality links. So what else can you see from this report? You can see the anchor text and the link destination. In English, anchor text is the keyword that you're targeting. It's critical that you don't overdo this, and no more than 10% as an average should have the keywords in the links pointing back to your website. And you can see the dates when they've actually added these links. So if this is a competitor, you can start to really understand their strategy, and while you don't copy it, you can implement the accordingly tactics and strategies into your business to make sure that you beat them. Step number 9 is tracking and measuring. The most important part of the whole integrated marketing process. I can safely say that after 10 plus years of doing this full time. Many businesses, not all, but many businesses are not aware of what's actually working for their business in terms of advertising, in terms of what's happening on their website. Certain ways that you can implement that, we're going to talk about right now. Things like heat maps, so you can see where people's eyes go on a website, specifically a mouse, the mouse movement. So then you've got scroll tracking. How far down the page does a user go before they actually abandon the page? Do they reach your call to action buttons? You have to know this. Would you like to video the user sessions of your website visitors to see whether it's easy, whether it's confusing, whether they are actually clicking on the links that you want them to click? Then you have something called split run test, which we'll talk about in just a moment. And finally, Google Analytics. You don't have to only use Google Analytics. However, it's free and it's worth many thousands of dollars and gives you tremendous power to really know what's working in your business in terms of the results, whether that's more people into your offline premises, more phone calls, more email inquiries, or more e-commerce sales. So let's talk about split testing and what that means. So split testing is simply driving 50% of your traffic to one page and 50% of the traffic to a different page where you maybe have changed a headline, maybe you've changed an image, or maybe you've changed another part of the website. That's the simplest part of testing and measuring. There are more advanced ways to do it in terms of multivariate testing, where in simple terms all that means is that you test 8 different items on your website, but you've got to be very clear what the big changes are that you're making, so you can really then find out what makes a difference to you getting more phone calls or more leads or more people into your offline premises or more sales, whatever the case may be. And the real question here for me is, are you using Google Analytics effectively for your business? Do you actually have it installed? If you do you look at it every day? Do you understand all the information that's in there? And are you aware that it can be customized to make it very simple for you to see only the most important information? The answer is yes, it definitely can be. And if you're already advanced and you say, I already know this, Andrew, the question is, are you looking at your marketing funnel? What actually contributes to the final click where they call you or email you or come into your offline premises or buy a product? Or what is actually an assisted contribution towards the final click that made that ultimate result? This is all part of advanced Google Analytics. And so finally, if you're an offline business, whether you're a vet, a retail pharmacy, a private hospital, when you're advertising through newspapers, brochures, mail drops, there is a very simple and effective way. It's just one example of how to track and measure the actual return on investment of your advertising. And so you simply create one unique page on your website. You create an electronic offer that's so powerful that they want to give you their first name and email in return, and therefore you find out whether it actually works in terms of that specific offline advert, because you'll be able to see the number of visitors that come to the page, as well as build up your customer database so you can email market to them afterwards. So for all those who don't take the action that you want, you'll be able to actually get the results that you're looking for. Here we have the breakthrough power principle of online marketing, which is the integrated marketing approach. So let me show you examples of what that means. Here on the screen are some online marketing examples, but I really stress this applies to how you combine offline and online marketing. So PPC is Google AdWords, pay-per-click or Facebook advertising. Landing pages is specific strategies for your website. Email marketing, social media such as Pinterest, Tumblr, LinkedIn, Facebook, Google+, the list goes on and on. The blog, where you should be creating powerful content with images, and of course the rest of your website. So how do these actually combine together? This is only a small sample of what you could be doing, and I haven't actually mentioned search engine optimization. So it's always a question of what is the best approach. So let me show you examples of integrated marketing. So you drive people from your social media sites to your email list to build up your database. So you give something away for free and you get people to opt in and give their first name and email, so you then can ethically and legally follow up with them in terms of your marketing to keep in front of their mind when they're making decisions, and also driving people from your social media to your blog, because you can only give a small snippet on social media, and therefore on the blog you'll be able to demonstrate your expertise and your message a lot more effectively, and then drive them to your website, because then they already have got to know, like, and trust you. So let me show you another example. Google AdWords and Google Analytics must work together. I see so many companies over the past 10 years, not using Google Analytics when they're actually investing hard-earned money for clients, when they're trying to get phone calls, emails, driving people into offline premises, selling products, whatever the case may be. You have to use both of these together. It's extremely important. If you don't, you will waste money, even though it's a fantastic opportunity, and you should test Google AdWords for 3 months before you do search engine optimization to find out which keyword phrases actually convert. So we won't deal with anybody if we can't have Google Analytics on the site first. Not to mention, if the websites load slowly, then I can assure you, you might as well not bother doing any marketing. Certainly when you're driving people to your website. There are so many websites that load slowly, and if you don't load under 3 seconds, you literally will, according to a recent survey, lose 7% of leads and sales. So it's extremely important that you get that fixed first before you do anything else. So in terms of integrated marketing, the big challenge is that you have to choose an SEO company, an AdWords company, a social media company, and a website developer. And do you think that they all know what they have to know in terms of advanced knowledge about internet marketing? Typically, absolutely not. Yes, there are specialists. Yes, they will know, hopefully, about what the advanced methods are for social media, etc. But in the end, how do they actually combine with each other? I can assure you large agencies have big problems in terms of communication, because one department of AdWords doesn't necessarily have the expertise at all of a Google Analytics department. They don't have the expertise of a search engine optimization department, because it's very, very tough, unless you've been doing it a long time, to be not an expert in everything, but to have enough advanced knowledge to really make this work for the goals of your business. So it is a case of not using multiple companies for your marketing. It doesn't work effectively, and you can easily waste an awful lot of hard-earned cash and the money that you've invested so far, whether it's offline or online. It is, of course, about what are the acquisition costs of getting a lead, getting somebody into your offline premises, whether you're a vet, a retail pharmacy, or private hospital, or another type of offline business. It is, of course, about sales and profits. And ultimately, Google Analytics will give you the answers about return on investment, but you have to know Google Analytics at an advanced level to really do this effectively. So who are you making decisions about right now? Yes, you can deal with somebody else apart from us. We've been doing this 10 years. I have a whole team of people. We're extremely experienced, and each year we focused on a different type of service. So while I don't know everything and I learn something new every day, our unique selling point is we absolutely can bring together these different parts of internet marketing and get you the results. So I hope that's helpful. It's all about transparency. If we can't help you, we'll let you know. But whoever you choose, make sure that they design a custom strategy for your business, and they can literally manage all the channels themselves. One company I'm talking about, and make sure they're advanced Google Analytics specialists. So really, just to summarize, we can only offer to 5 businesses a month a free report of your competitors' marketing strategy, and it tells you what's happening in Google AdWords, email marketing, Twitter, mobile apps, etc., etc. How can you increase your market share, and what are your competitors doing that you shouldn't necessarily copy, but at least you have the knowledge of what your strategy could be altered to as part of the overall picture. Thanks for watching. Please contact us at andrew.edwards.com/contact. We'd love to talk to you, and we'll speak to you soon.